Hi, this is kind of unusual video for my channel. I want to make a retro kind of review of this little cool piece of hardware, the machine by SM Pro Audio. And this is basically a hardware box that can run VST plugins. And it can run BlueARP. And we'll check how it runs BlueARP inside this little machine. But first, kind of a quick overview for those of you who don't know this device. It's been introduced in 2008. It's basically a Linux computer inside, which runs Wine or Windows emulation on top of Linux. And inside this Wine, on top of that Windows emulation, it runs Windows 32 compatible VST plugins. It can run many freeware plugins of that time. The problem using these days is that the hardware is pretty limited and mostly CPU, so you cannot run CPU intensive plugins here. You cannot run, of course, 64-bits plugins. But if you take kind of easy CPU easy synthesizers like Synth1, you can probably run a couple of instances, but with a limited polyphony, or you can run samplers. So connectivity wise, we have connection to the PC. You can connect either USB stick or USB MIDI controller, DIN5 MIDI input, line input. We can use it as an effects unit as well, line output and headphone output. And for line display, not very convenient way of navigation, but at least we can browse through the parameters exposed by this certain VST plugin, and we can adjust them this way. And so first we're gonna check the control software, and then we'll check how it sounds and how BlueARP runs inside this little machine.
20 minutes later.
So this is the control software of the V machine. It's called VFX. Let's go through the basics, through the structure. On the top level we have a bank, OLEG demo in our case. Bank contains several presets, or I'd better call them performances, because this is kind of a multi-layered, in theory it can be multi-layered combination of different instrument and effects plugins, like keyboard splitted, MIDI channel splitted. We'll check this in a while. So for example, these are 4 layers, 4 tabs. Each tab is a layer, and each layer can have up to 3 instrument plugins. I can split them by MIDI channels. So in this case, it will work like a multi-timbral synth module. In theory, because the hardware is just not capable enough to run so many plugins. And this is the pitiest thing for me, the most drawback for using this today, like the weak CPU, the limited hardware. But the architecture is really great. So you can have up to 3 synths per each layer, and you can have up to 12 instrument plugins here. You have effect slots where you can assign different effects like delay and reverb in my case, and there is a mixing panel where I can adjust levels for these layers. I can adjust like send levels to the effect slots, and there is a master level, and all of this is kind of this single preset or performance, and I can have as many performances in the bank as I need. Let's check a few of this. Like I have this current multi-performance where I have this current synthesizer, and it can play it. These are kind of parameters exposed by the VST plugin. I can adjust them here, or I can bring up the VST editor and work with the plugin just a normal way. And let's move to another preset where we have BlueARP and Synth1. So I can bring up the VST editor for the BlueARP as well. And the cool thing that here it supports MIDI routing between the plugins. So for the Synth1, I can tell that take MIDI input from slot A, like from the BlueARP, even today, not every DAW has such a convenient way to connect the plugins. So this is cool. And let's pick up another preset for the BlueARP. Let's take this one. Let's increase the tempo a little bit. Now, when I finished, I can send it to the machine with this button, and it doesn't take a long time, it's less than a minute. And now let's go to the vMachine and check how it works with the vMachine.
A few moments later.
Here I have vMachine. Let's turn it on. This thing is pretty noisy. It has the fan inside. So while it's loading, I have my Roland keyboard connected through DIN5 MIDI input, and this white wire is Nano Control, connected through USB, and vMachine recognizes it as generic MIDI kind of device controller. So now this current factory preset loaded. Let's go to the next one. Let's current VST synth as well. Another preset. And what I can do here, I can browse this. So now I'm browsing kind of parameters, and I can find, for example, filter frequency, and if I press these two buttons, it will assign it to any MIDI CC. So now we have filter frequency. Assigned to this knob. And now let's check BlueARP. This is our BlueARP plus Synth1 preset. So we can play it as well. I have filter cutoff already assigned to this knob. So I believe this indicator shows CPU load, so it's kind of less than 50%, so that's okay. So Synth1 is pretty easy on the CPU. I think it will maybe run even a couple of instances. I didn't try though. Let's check another preset. So here we have this Phutura free VST plugin, cool one as well. And what I did, there is kind of basic 8-step sequence rolling over and over, and I assigned this button to latch. So you see now latch is on, so if I press it, it goes over and over. And now this row of knobs is octave transpose for 8 steps of the sequence, and these sliders are semitone transpose. So I have kind of 8-step sequencer which I can control in real time. So let's check this. So the first step goes octave down. Let's add semitone transpose. can, for example, bring it back kind of and make a total mess here. So just a random sequence. This is how you can use BlueARP inside vMachine. Unfortunately, I didn't find a way to synchronize it to the external tempo, and I think it's not possible. But anyway, this is a cool piece of hardware, kind of a cool artifact of its time. So thanks for watching and have fun with BlueARP.